stop, shocked when she hits back. Some stories are uncomfortable to hear, but they need to be told. Across the world, traffic stops are meant to be routine, a brief pause, a question, a ticket, and then life continues. But for some people, especially black women, those flashing blue lights can signal something far more dangerous than a broken taillight. They can signal judgment, aggression, and the assumption of guilt before a single word is spoken. This story is not about hating the police. It's about power, how it's used, how it's abused, and what happens when someone refuses to be silently broken by it. It's about a woman who was expected to comply, to shrink, to endure pain quietly. A woman who was underestimated because of her skin, her gender, and her calm voice. But what happens when the person you've targeted refuses to play the role you assigned them? What happens when fear turns into resolve, and resolve turns into resistance? Tonight's story is intense, emotional, and deeply human. It explores injustice, courage, and the moment when a line is crossed, and cannot be uncrossed. It is not a fantasy of violence, but a story of survival, accountability, and the cost of arrogance. So take a breath. Watch closely. Because this traffic stop doesn't go the way anyone expects. The rain had just started falling when Naomi Carter noticed the patrol car behind her. Not the gentle drizzle that cooled summer streets, but a steady, soaking rain that blurred headlights and made reflections shimmer across the asphalt. Naomi adjusted her grip on the steering wheel and checked her speed, 5 miles under the limit. Her seatbelt was on. Her headlights were on. Everything was right. Then the blue lights flashed. Her stomach tightened instantly. "Stay calm," she whispered to herself. Naomi pulled over slowly, signaling well in advance, easing the car onto the shoulder beneath a flickering street lamp. She shut off the engine, rolled down the window halfway, and placed both hands on the steering wheel exactly the way her father had taught her years ago. Don't give them a reason. The patrol car stopped behind her. 2 doors opened. 2 officers stepped out. Naomi watched them carefully in her side mirror. Both were white. Both male. One tall and broad-shouldered, the other shorter, stockier, with a hand already resting on his belt. They approached on either side of the car. That's when Naomi knew something was wrong. "License and registration," the taller one barked before she could even say hello. "Yes, officer," Naomi replied calmly. "May I ask why I was?" "I said license and registration," he snapped, louder this time. Naomi swallowed her words and reached slowly for her purse. "Don't move so fast," the shorter officer warned. Her hand froze mid-air. "I'm just getting my ID," she said, voice steady but soft. The taller officer leaned closer, shining his flashlight directly into her face. The beam lingered too long, blinding her. "You nervous about something?" he asked. "No, sir." "Because you look nervous." "I'm not," Naomi replied. "I'm just trying to comply." The shorter officer snorted. "They always say that." Naomi handed over her license and registration. Her name sat clearly on the card, Naomi Carter. No prior offenses. Clean record. The tall officer barely glanced at it. "Step out of the vehicle." Naomi blinked. "May I ask why?" His jaw tightened. "Step out of the vehicle." Her heart began to pound, but she nodded slowly and unbuckled her seatbelt. She opened the door carefully and stepped onto the wet pavement. The rain soaked into her sweater instantly. "Turn around." Hands on the car. "What?" "Officer, I haven't done anything." "Now." The shout echoed down the empty road. Naomi raised her hands and placed them on the hood, palms flat, fingers spread. The metal was cold. Rainwater ran down her sleeves. The shorter officer moved in behind her. She felt his hands on her arms, rough and unnecessary. "Are you detaining me?" she asked, her voice shaking now despite her effort. The tall officer laughed. "You asking too many questions. I have the right to know." Suddenly, Naomi was shoved forward, her chest hitting the hood hard enough to knock the air from her lungs. "Stop resisting," the shorter officer yelled. "I'm not resisting," Naomi cried. Her wrists were yanked behind her back. Pain shot through her shoulders. The rain mixed with tears she refused to let fall. "Please," she said. "You're hurting me." That's when the tall officer stepped closer and whispered, low enough that only she could hear. "You should have stayed quiet." Something inside Naomi snapped. Not into rage. Not into panic. Into clarity. She realized in that moment that compliance wasn't protecting her. Silence wasn't saving her. And fear was exactly what they expected. When the shorter officer twisted her arm higher, too high, Naomi reacted on instinct. She shifted her weight. She dropped her center of gravity. And she struck back. Not wildly. Not desperately. Precisely. Her elbow drove backward into the officer's ribs. He gasped, loosening his grip for half a second, just long enough. Naomi spun, pulling free. "What the tall officer shouted. Time slowed. Rain fell harder. And every assumption they'd made about her, every stereotype, every dismissal, collapsed in an instant. Because Naomi Carter was no longer just a woman at a traffic stop. She was a woman who refused to be broken. And this was only the beginning. The moment Naomi broke free, the night exploded. "Get back!" The tall officer shouted, his hand flying toward his weapon. Naomi's breath came fast and sharp. Rain plastered her hair to her face as she staggered backward, hands raised instinctively, not in surrender this time, but in readiness. "Don't touch your gun," she yelled. "I'm unarmed." The shorter officer wheezed, clutching his ribs, fury blazing in his eyes. "She assaulted an officer. You assaulted me first." Naomi shot back, her voice ringing with a clarity that surprised even her. For a split second, no one moved. Then tires screeched in the distance. Another patrol car. Then another. Red and blue lights flooded the highway, reflecting off the wet road like a battlefield of color. Doors slammed. Radios crackled. "What happened here?" a commanding voice demanded. A third officer, older, with gray at his temples, stepped forward. His eyes moved from Naomi's soaked clothes to her reddened wrists, then to the two officers breathing hard behind her. "She resisted arrest," the tall officer said quickly. "Attacked us during a lawful stop." Naomi laughed, not because it was funny, but because the lie was so easy for him. "Check the dash cam," she said. "And my phone." All eyes turned to her. "I was recording," Naomi continued. "From the moment you asked me to step out of my car." The older officer's jaw tightened. "Is that true?" The tall officer hesitated. Just for a fraction of a second. That hesitation changed everything. "Hand me the phone," the older officer said. Naomi slowly reached into her pocket and placed the phone in his outstretched hand. Her screen was cracked from being shoved against the hood, but the video was still running. They watched in silence. The yelling. The shove. The words, "You should have stayed quiet." And then, clear as day, the illegal arm twist, the pain in Naomi's voice, the exact moment she defended herself. The rain kept falling, but the air felt heavy now. "No weapons," another officer said quietly after searching Naomi. "No warrants. Clean record." The older officer exhaled slowly. He turned to the two men who had started it all. "Both of you, step back." "What?" the shorter officer protested. I said step back." Backup arrived again, this time, not aggressive. Cautious. Watching. "Ma'am," the older officer said to Naomi, his tone noticeably different, "are you injured?" Naomi looked down at her wrists. Already swelling, purple fingerprints blooming beneath her skin. Her shoulder throbbed with every breath. "Yes," she said simply. An ambulance was called. The two officers were separated. And for the first time that night, Naomi sat down, not in handcuffs, but on the edge of the patrol car, wrapped in a thermal blanket while a medic examined her arms. "Deep bruising," the medic murmured. "Possible ligament strain. You're lucky you moved when you did." Naomi nodded, exhaustion washing over her now that the adrenaline was fading. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. The older officer met her eyes. "Now we do this right." The aftermath. The footage didn't stay quiet for long. Within 48 hours, the video was everywhere. Millions of views. Headlines blaring. Comment sections exploding. "Black woman attacked during traffic stop, fights back." Dash cam and phone footage contradict police report. The department released a carefully worded statement. An internal investigation was launched. Both officers were placed on administrative leave. But Naomi knew better than to relax. She hired a lawyer, Angela Brooks, a sharp-eyed civil rights attorney who didn't mince words. "They violated your rights," Angela said bluntly, sliding papers across the table. "Excessive force. False statements. Retaliation. And that whisper. That sealed it." Naomi's voice trembled. "I was scared they'd kill me." Angela nodded. "That fear is justified. And now, it's documented." The officer's body cam footage was released next. It matched Naomi's video perfectly. The shove. The lie. The panic when control slipped. Public pressure mounted. Protests formed outside the precinct. Community leaders demanded answers. And suddenly, the same department that had once towered over Naomi was scrambling to contain damage. Months later, the courtroom was packed. Naomi sat at the plaintiff's table, hands folded, spine straight. Her shoulder had healed, but the memory hadn't. Across the room, the two officers avoided her gaze. The prosecution played the footage on a massive screen. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The jurors watched Naomi's face contort in pain. They heard the whisper. They saw the moment she fought back, not in rage, but survival. The defense tried to spin it. She escalated. She struck first. She was non-compliant. Angela stood calmly when it was her turn. "Non-compliant," she repeated. "For asking why. For being afraid. For being a black woman alone on a dark road." She turned to Naomi. "Why did you hit back?" Naomi stood. Her voice was steady. "Because I realized that night that obedience wasn't keeping me safe. And I wanted to live." Silence filled the courtroom. The verdict came 3 days later. Guilty. Excessive force. Falsifying reports. Violation of civil rights. Both officers were fired. Criminal charges followed. The department settled the civil lawsuit for a record amount, but Naomi insisted on more than money. Mandatory body cams. Independent review boards. Policy changes. Her name became associated with reform. Not because she wanted fame. But because she refused silence. Months later, Naomi drove the same road again. Same rain. Same flickering street lamp. But this time, when blue lights flashed behind her, her heart didn't race. The officer approached calmly. "Good evening, ma'am," he said. "Just wanted to let you know your taillight is out. No ticket tonight." Naomi nodded. "Thank you." As she drove away, she caught her reflection in the mirror. Still afraid sometimes. Still healing. But no longer powerless. Because the night they thought she would break, she stood. If this story impacted you, opened your eyes, or gave you courage, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it so more people hear stories like Naomi's. Turn on notifications so you never miss powerful stories like this one. Thank you for watching.